Hey, what is up, guys? So this week I am doing a quicker recap than usual because I'm getting ready for a trip. So it's not going to be similar to the level of detail that I went over in the last couple of weeks, but hopefully this new format should suffice in terms of, just myself going over my thinking process as I took entries and exits on a number of my different trades. So there's been a lot of things that happened this week. Obviously, the biggest one is about the inflation numbers, which the market kind of reacted erratically to. I took advantage of that on those days, and then the Fed, the incompetency that they've displayed and how they're trying to tank the market. So anyway, with that said, let's kind of go over some of my trades. So first off, let's see here. So one of the trades that I've taken earlier on in the week is more or less a rebalance of some of the entries that I've made on TQQQ. So if you recall last week, I had made some entries or some exits off SQQQ, and consequently I also entered TQQ. So as folks may know, I like to either day trade or swing trade those over the last couple of weeks. So with regards to TQQ, I started to scale out of those. So you can see here, I had entered it, and now I'm exiting it during the earlier parts of the week. The other thing that I exited was CHWY. So I had a couple of puts that was set to expire, and so what I wanted to do was take advantage of that, get out of the puts, so zeroed out the puts, and then basically re-up those positions from an options perspective. So that's what I did. I didn't really do much. I did some day trades and stuff like that. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see some of the positions I've taken. From a day trade perspective on that day. And then what was interesting was then on Tuesday, which is I think the 13th, is when the inflation numbers came out. So inflation was good. The numbers were less than what people expected it to be. So you can see here the consumer price, it rose less than expected, and so the market initially reacted favorably to that. So what I did was I scaled out more of my TQQ position. So I exited more as the market popped. So you can see I didn't really capitalize on the move all the way up to 25. Like I said before, it's almost impossible to time the tops and bottoms. So that is what it is. Happy with the numbers I made. And then I also set some limits here because I had anticipated that the market will kind of whiplash downwards, and you see later in the week that that's exactly what happened, capitalized as well. So with regards to the pop up, I also started to exit some of my crowd position. So like I said before, I also had positions in crowd. I took partials off it last time. Every pop I took partial, every dip I buy, just because fundamentals look good for this. Again, it's the macro economics that drag down this stock. It's in a good sector. I don't think data security is going away anytime soon, and this is certainly one of the market leaders in that sector. So exited some of my crowd holdings. And then correspondingly, I also made some entries. So as TQQ popped, SQQ dropped, and I made my entries. And I also actually exited some of those positions as well. So I took partials on SQQ when the news came out. And then on subsequent days, SQQ actually popped even further. Actually, throughout the week, SQQ is just shooting through the roof right now. But I exited my position on SQQQ. So the reason for that is because if folks listen to what Andrew talked about in terms of trading 3 times leverage ETFs, you kind of don't want to hold on to these stocks for the long run, just because they do have a tendency to decay. And if you look at the history of something like, let's see here, UVXY, so I used to trade this stock as well. It's highly volatile, and now I don't touch it just because just the volatility, and because of that, the margin requirements, etc. But I do like to touch the ETFs that's related to the tech sector, just because they move more. It's easier for me to take a decent size in a position and capitalize on the moves there, and taking advantage of the leverage. But so for UVXY, if we look at like daily levels, etc., not daily levels, but like if we're looking at the daily chart of UVXY and you go back, you can see, it ranges all the way up to like 500, 700, whatnot. But what people don't know is a lot of times is the stock splits, and sometimes they do a reverse split on the stocks as well, and so that's how you get those inflated numbers. So as the stock loses its value because it's derivative, what the funds may do is then they would do a reverse stock split, and then artificially increasing the price of the stock, so to speak. And so, you can't really look at the actual stock numbers, etc., and kind of think that, hey, this is, that this is the upside or whatnot, and just simply buy the dip. So anyway, so that is the reason. But at the same time, I'm not so conservative where I only day trade the ETFs. I actually swing trade them, as you've seen over the last couple of weeks. So that being said, I also exited some of my other equity positions. So CHWY was something that I was looking at for a while. Early on, I took a short swing of CHWY. So if we go back to the CHWY chart, see here. So CHWY, maybe I should do a daily. Let me pull up the daily actually. So here's the daily chart for CHWY, and if we look at it, it sort of popped up like over the last couple of months, even though operationally I think they're not that sound, but I do like CHWY. I use their services. So they popped up, kind of holding this mid 40 level, and recently they had some earnings report, whatnot, that kind of pushed them up, but right after that they're sort of coming back down. I actually started my position up here up around the high mid 40s, I guess you can say, like around the 43, 42 level. I also took a few positions as it popped up to 45, 46. And after that, the stock kind of tanked. And because of this, where it's consolidating, where it made its top and coming back down, on the day which is yesterday, where the entire market was red, I capitalized on that move to get out, simply because this stock was really beaten up the last 3 days. I didn't want to take a chance. I know that it was going to retrace. This is exactly what it did today. It kind of popped up, and my position wasn't really too big. I never take positions that are too big, but relative to what I was comfortable with for one ticker, it was a little too much. So I just exited my entire position at a profit. And so that was my CHWY trade, and that's kind of the rationale. Was I was looking at the daily, kind of holding this level as a floor. This is kind of a top. It did an aberrant move up, and so I added to my position on the way down, basically, and then capitalized on that. I also made some entry as the prices were dropping. I've traded DraftKings a few times in the past. And I got out at a profit around the $14, $15 level. And so I started scaling, very small size. This is a teaser size. This is not even a tester size. It's like so tiny. And I decided to add more today on DraftKings as it dropped. But this was what happened yesterday, I think, when DraftKings dropped. I also made some entries on TQQQ. I wish I had taken a screenshot of that, but I did not. But anyway, so TQQ dropped yesterday, and I started adding positions to it. I added some yesterday. I'm going to add some more here, and then if it drops beyond that, I'm going to exit because the fall is going to be pretty steep. I think the last time I saw a low, it's way down in the 10s, so that's a 6-point move. Reason for that is I also look at, let's see if I can pull that up here. I also look at the QQ. So, there's several levels on the QQQ. Another one is 269, which more or less will probably correspond to where the 16 level is. And so if it hits that and bounces, which is what I anticipate, then I'm comfortable adding to it, but I don't want to hold on for this 9-point drop here. I would probably re-enter at around the 260 mark when QQQ hits that. The other thing you can follow is also the NQ, which tracks the futures for technology stocks. So similarly, there's a level down here at 10,779. So I'm just watching those, comfortable add into it as it hits this level of support, and then see what happens. It breaks that, then I'm all out. So that's sort of the way I'm playing TQQQ, and if you look at it, it's relatively, not that pricey. So again, this is just for very short term for myself. That's the way I'm playing it, so that's the way I think about it. And then today, not much to talk about today. I exited some of my DRVs, so that's the reverse. Again, this is another swing position and how I took advantage of that. I had entries down here in the 45s. So previously, earlier on, when the Feds were tanking the market basically because of their incompetence, or maybe purposely doing it, who knows? The stock, or not the stock, the ETF for DRV also dropped. So I entered it around the 45, 44-ish level. Today on the pop, I actually, sorry, not today, but yesterday on the pop, I got out about 40% of my position. And then on this really big run here, I exited my entire position on DRV. So that was a pretty nice run. It's almost, a 10-point gain there. So that was my position on DRV and my exit. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it in terms of my equities. I also have, expiring options. Not going to go through each one of them. There's really too much and I don't have time to do that. But in terms of, my thinking around that is just looking at the probability of where resistance and support lies, and then capitalizing on that. And then for positions that I'm swinging and I own equities on those, as I'm holding them until they hit my profit target, I also sell calls on them, weekly calls. So for things like Intel, IQ, etc., and Crowd as well, that's how I basically get quote unquote rent off the equity. So that's pretty much it. As you can see, a lot of them for this week are expiring. So basically all the ones that are zeroing and out or very close to zero are probably expiring today. I really can't tell just based on the symbols here, but that's how it is. And then other ones could be next week when they are expiring. So they are close to being zeroed out, and some of them are calls that I don't mind getting out of. So I know, for example, a DQ is going to get out at this price. I know it ran up quite a bit, but it is what it is. Sometimes you don't get maximum profit. And so this one, I think I'm leaving, a couple of points on the table. And it is what it is. And it's probably going to get exercised this weekend when they call it in at a $55 price. But I own the equity, and so it will just get zeroed out on the equity side, and this will get cleared off. So anyway, so that's it. Those are my trades for the week. And then for next week, I don't know if I would have the opportunity to do another recap like this, simply because I'll be traveling, trading on my laptop. So I can't really document as much, but we'll see what happens when I get home. If not, I'll do another type of video. So anyway, thanks for watching, and peace out.